Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for your patience. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. My name is Annika. I use she, her pronouns, and thank you for joining us tonight for our December Book Art series. This is our last Book Art series of 2024. So please be on the lookout as we post for 2025. And if you or anyone else you know are interested in applying to do a book art series talk. The call is open and it is a rolling deadline on CBAA's website. So please spread the word that we are looking for applications. And it is my pleasure tonight to introduce Gail Shaw-Clemons. Gail Shaw-Clemons is a printmaker, mixed media artist, and art activist. She was born in Washington, D.C., and received her BFA and MFA from the University of Maryland College Park, where she studied with Dr. David Driscoll, Martin Puryear, Thaddeus Lipinski. She spent most of her career in New York City as an instructor at the United Nations International School. She recently retired and moved back to Washington, D.C., where she now resides and continues her practice. She has a studio at Stable Arts and works in two different print studios, Pyramid Atlantic Art Center in Hyattsville, Maryland, and Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop in New York City. Kamala Subramanian is a Washington, D.C. area artist of South Asian and African American heritage. Born and raised in the District of Columbia, Kamala was educated through the D.C. public school system and fell in love with printmaking. In high school, while attending the Smithsonian's Discover Graphics program, literary arts program, and workshops for careers in the arts, now Duke Ellington High School for the Arts. Kamala holds a BFA from Temple University, Tyler School of Fine Arts, Rome, Italy, and Philadelphia, PA, with postgraduate work in child and abnormal psychology at University of Maryland College Park. Teaching accreditation credits from Bowie State University and credits in the psychology department's art therapy program. So it is my pleasure to turn it over to our two artists tonight.
Okay, thank you. I will start. I first wanted to make this statement before we actually go into the slide presentation. And it's one of the statements that we use for our proposal. So through this project, the book form became an instrument of resiliency and object of desire, channeling the traumatic past of our enslaved ancestors who were denied the rights to read, write, and to own our own narrative. So the name of our talk is Book Art as Artivism. And it's basically art and activism put together. When you look it up, it may not be a word, but it works. So what we did in 2020, we came up with an idea to communicate with each other and be creative collaboratively because we were kind of shut in and there were lots of things going on. And it basically kind of saved our lives. So we called it Project 2020. However, we realized that there were a lot of Project 2020s going on at that time. So our subtitle is 9 months, 9 artists, 9 perspectives. Okay, so 9 Black women artists compelled to create collaborative artists books to transcend and transform the traumatic events of the year 2020, one of the most tumultuous in the last 100 years. Art making then became a transgressive act. Our artivism documented our perspective and our vision. So the first slide that you'll see is a
Neil, we can't
yes.
see we can't see the slides.
You can't see the slides. Okay,
I
we
think you
just
have to reshare it again, maybe.
oh, okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so we had it all set up and now we can't see it. What about
I can
uh
see it.
Oh, you can see it?
I see it, at least from my computer.
Does everyone else
I
see?
can see the first slide that has the title of the show and the images of the work. Just the
Okay,
first slide.
great. I think you can just keep going then, Gail.
Okay. All right. So if I move up here, does it do anything? Oh, it's not doing anything. It's not moving. So what happened? Yeah,
Oh, it's just frozen on the first slide.
maybe because it's not moving. That's weird. I had it moving before. So I'm going to stop sharing and
Maybe
then
just stop share and reshare. Maybe it just got.
share. Okay. PowerPoint, share. What about now?
Yes, I
Okay,
see.
but we want to make it bigger too.
But go back to play from current slide, the second button on the left.
Right. Okay. Play from current slide.
Yes, because that'll keep it on.
Okay, so can I move it? The thing is, okay, yeah, I can move
Yes,
it. Okay.
yes. Okay,
All right,
great.
great.
Thank you.
So this is an invitation for our first exhibition, and this was at Pyramid Atlantic. So you can see all of the different books that each artist made. Okay, so I'm going to move down. And this is we had an exhibition in Chicago, and so this is the whole group. And this was actually our last exhibition. We had three of them. Okay. So Kamala's going to talk about the rotation of the books, and then we'll move on from there.
So the idea came from four artists, three artists,
Three.
Arjua, um, Gail, and Aziza. Ajua Burrows, Aziza Claudia Gibson Hunter, and Gail Shaw-Clemons. And actually, could you like hit off on how you all came up with that, and then I'll talk about the rotation?
Okay, so basically I think Aziza and I were talking, chit-chatting, and she was thinking of, we need to do something, we need to get together and do something. And so I told her about an exhibition, a traveling collaborative uh, exhibition that I was in, and international exhibition. So I talked about the process and how it worked, and she was like, "Wow, that sounds really good." And then she said, "Let's do it." But so it was only two of us at the time, and then Ajwa came into the group, and we decided to invite each of us would invite two artists into the group. So then we had nine people. And so we got together on Zoom and talked about the project and then talked about the process and decided on the size of the work, how long it would take for us to get the work done so that the books could travel to the next person. So that's kind of how it started.
And as they selected the the artists that they wanted to join the group, it was you selected three each, right?
Right. No, it's two each.
Two each. My bad. I'm all confused. And I was invited by Ajwa, and each artist, like I said, they invited two of us within the group, and we all agreed. And I know I was very excited at the prospect of just creating and collaborating, especially, in a time where it we just felt stuck and frozen and um, not quite victims, but art has always been my escape and release and therapy. And I just jumped at the chance of connecting with amazing and talented and intellectually stimulating people with this group. I didn't know, I knew everybody except the New York artists, Gloria Patton and Michelle Godwin. But everyone else, I was very been close with and actually Pamela, although I'd met her once before. But anyway, we each were instructed to gather ideas for our own book design, and we were given a limitation of no larger than 12 inches, 12 by 12 inches, because we wanted to keep them transportable by mail if necessary. And we each came up with a very different design. I thought there might have been some slight repetition, and maybe the individualization came when we each added to the products, each product. But no, they were all incredibly diverse and imaginative, which was even more exciting. So once a month, at the end of every month, as we finished our creation of our book, we rotated it to the next artist, and we had a list as to how the rotation was set up. So we would just well, with the next person that I gave my book to, they were within the vicinity of my living vicinity in the area and of Washington D.C. So I was able to actually hand it off to the person. And Gail came to the point where she had to mail hers to New York, and for the other two artists, Gloria Patton and Michelle Godwin, to then partake of it. The New York artists, I think, yeah, shared with one another. And then the second person had to have theirs shipped to DC. So for that first rotation, it went fine for the people who were in the DC area, but Gail's book was lost in the mail. And we were like, oh no, it was really horrifying. And so from that point on, Gail actually hand delivered the DC, whatever DC book had to go to New York, and brought down the New York book to DC, so that that wasn't an issue any longer. But yeah, it became a wonderful ritual where trading it off in person, even though we were wearing masks and you know keeping our 6 foot distance from one another. It was exciting to see one another and to share the books. And sometimes 3 of us would get together and then have a mutual sharing. And very exciting because we were all trying to figure out how was this going to come together. And we were, I mean, intellectually we had the idea going, but then to actually see it in our hands was really incredible. And each time the rotation came about, we would see some new ideas. And as we got our book from the artist, we looked to see what their setup was, what the structure was, and everyone kind of explained the story behind their book, or their plan for it. And then we each had to figure out how we were going to carry out that person's vision for their book, and then how we were going to uh, create our page within their book from our point of view. And then it started getting a little bit easier as we started making observations of what was happening in the moment. And it was a tumultuous year. I remember the first rotation I got, I think John Lewis had passed away. And so I was reflecting on that. No, that was within my book. Yeah. So that was the kickoff. And there were other events where Black Lives Matter was getting rolling, and just so many things, political things. Of course, the election, 2020 election, was also in progress. So we were all viewing all these different things.
And COVID as well.
Yeah, the whole thing started because of COVID and the shutdown.
Yeah.
I should have led with that.
Yeah. So Okay. So, oh yeah, so and it basically because it was nine of us, it took 9 months to complete the books, our books.
Yeah.
And that is where we came up with the um well, we birthed the books in 9 months, basically. Okay, so I wanted to take a little bit of a deep dive into the process because it's difficult for people to understand even though they say they understand, they don't always understand. So I thought Michelle's book was a good book to use. It's a horizontal accordion book that stands on its own. And what she had to do was to make a book, okay? And then so she made the book and she had to do the first image. So if you look all the way to the left, this image was hers. And then she had to leave 8 pages available for all of the other artists to participate in her book. So if you notice, the second one is actually Julie's. And this one, I'm not sure.
Fine.
That's yours. Okay, Kamala's. And this one is who is this? Um, I
Oh,
have them. Oh, okay, Pamela.
no, let's,
Pamela. And I think this one is Ajawa's.
yes.
Yes, that's arduous.
Ajawa's, and then Aziza and Francine, mine, and Gloria's. And so for her book, she did make an extra page so that everyone could sign have she'd have their signature in the book in the order that the pages are made. Okay, so these are the images. This is Ajua's image, my image, and Kamala's. Is that Kamala? Is that your?
Yes.
Okay, Kamala's image in Michelle's book. Okay. And then this is Aziza's a close-up, and this is Michelle's image that she put in the very beginning of the book. And then this is Julie's image. Okay. And then here we have Francine. And I have a little tidbit on Francine. Francine was the first book that I received. And when I saw the cover of the book and the first page that she put into the book, I sat down. I felt like I needed a drink or something. I'm like, this 30 days is going to be very interesting, trying to, live up to her creativity. And so that's when I knew that we were really onto something because we were challenging each other every month and we were learning from each other. Sometimes we had to do research to figure out, a particular word. And it was just, it was a great distraction during that time for us to be involved with something instead of the news and the trauma that was existing all around us.
Yes.
And then Gloria's this is the one over to the right is Gloria's piece, her contribution to Michelle's book. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to show the cover and how each book was actually exhibited. And then we're going to, I think Kamala's going to read the statement of each artist and also give the title of the book.
Yes. So the first one here is Francine's, and for Francine's.
I'm not sure what's it in order.
I don't, yeah, I don't even see Francine's here. Let's see. Francine's,
Is it a witness in the midst of it all?
Yeah, that's the title.
yeah, I see
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So sorry. Francine says, in order to move forward, you must know what came before you. I learned something new, even though I am a seasoned citizen. The quarantine of 2020 gave me permission to pause and stop. Project 2020 allowed me to create without limitations or boundaries, revisiting, exploring, and discovering my passion for telling our stories. I enjoyed the process, journey, and challenge of working in each artist's book. Francine Haskin, a witness in the midst of it all.
Okay. And the interesting thing, her book had 2 pages. So it could stand up on its own, and you could see one side of the book, and you can walk around the book and see a continuation of the book. Lisa,
So Aziza's is called, oops, let me see hers.
I think it's a.
I saw, hers is called Indigo Gree.
Mhm.
And her statement is, I saw this project as one that had the possibility of forming lasting bonds, documenting an incredible period in history, and helping 9 Black women to survive during a worldwide pandemic. It did. Aziza Claudia Gibson, Indigo Gree.
Okay, perfect. And her book, actually, it you open it as a book, and then she had these I guess it was a twofold where you could put objects inside of it, and she collected not only an image from each person, but something that she could put inside of the pages and seal it so that it would, have and have power. Okay, Kamala.
Okay, mine was called Project 2020 The X Factor. And when I need to fill a void or just fly away, I turn to art and I create. And my statement about the book is just basically I create from my observations, and that's what we all did, just drawing in everything that was going on and putting our reactions into visual terms.
I think the difference between your book is that you had that half page. You had was it a page and a half?
It was 1 page, but it was folded, and this was handmade Indian Mulberry paper. And so you could open the flap and um, design it however you wanted. If you wanted it to be a continuation or a totally different um, statement to it, you could do so. So you had the front of the paper, which flapped out, and then the back as well.
Mhm.
Like
It's
page.
interesting because all of the books had some kind of challenge that you had to meet, and I felt like we were part of Mission Impossible. And like, if you should accept this book, you will have to figure out how to finish it. So
And maintain the continuity with your own voice.
exactly, exactly. Okay, who's next? Gloria.
Gloria, okay. Gloria Patton, the title of her book is called Nexus. Working on Book Project 2020 allowed me to embrace a spirit that uplifted me to a place of positivity and hope that enabled me to deal with the tumultuous events that dominated life in the United States. And her books was a page per page codex style that actually opened up into an accordion, and each page had a singular pocket. So she gave you this printed um, excerpt that you designed on it and folded up within the pocket. So, and it folded out. I mean, you could, yeah, it was very interesting to make it. Um, as you can see, each pocket has an image that she created. So you were trying to coordinate your design to envelop or to, I guess, coincide with her image as well. That was her challenge. It was really interesting, especially looking at if you got to be further along, you got to see how it built. and you wanted to build on that continuity of the book.
Okay. Let's see who's next. Pam.
Okay. So Pam was called Retablos of Resistance. This is Pamela Harris Lawton. Her statement as participating in this project was cathartic, a catalyst providing renewed hope for my life as a Black woman, artist, and scholar. I found common ground with a group of highly gifted Black women artists. Inspired by their work and process, I was challenged to be my best art self and nurtured during both traumatic and triumphant times. I'm sorry. Yes, Pamela is definitely a codex style, and she gave us, I think it was 4 pages that we had to create on, and it held within each page. She also provided a space where she wanted to collect our business cards in the rear of the book. So I thought that was interesting, and I was upset I didn't think about it for my book. But it was a book that she redesigned basically, and it was very thick. It was again a really interesting challenge. I loved it,
Yeah, it
and
was a challenge.
pre-printed image that you
Right.
intertwined with as well.
I think she felt guilty because she gave us so much work to do that she gave us she gave us a lot of pieces of her work. So it was interesting because not only were we collaborating in her book, we were collaborating on top of her work as well.
Yes.
So that was kind of a twofer. Okay, so let's see. And Julie.
Okay. So Julie's is called Julie Dickerson Thompson was called We the Coffee. Project 2020 brought me the book club of the century. Bonding with 8 other artists during COVID-19 was not only therapeutic, it was invigorating, fortifying, and exciting. The horrific events of 2020 21 are documented, explored, identified, and dealt with in these books and in my personal contributions. I jumped into the adventure and beyond the challenges and the world stage on fire around us. I came out more whole and creatively healed. The gift of art of the box I want to share with everyone. So with Julie's, she actually created her own box, and it was a changeling. It's a shapeshifter, as she called it, in which it could become a cube, but it also folded out and became, more of a sculptural type piece. And she also had, um, I guess, symbolic, um, not figures, but symbolic mementos and things that um, coincided or fit inside of the box. And it was interesting because with each show, she could rearrange it in such a way that it collapsed on itself. It was like it grew, and it was interesting to see how many combinations she could come up with and show how each of us had created our image on that portion of the book to of the box to fold and see, and you could see them all if she opened it all up. But yeah, really interesting and challenging as well. But for
Yeah,
her to put it all back together again.
she had one stipulation. We could use possibly black and white and one color. So, but I think we learned a lot about different things like the dandelion. Normally we took for granted that, these things are growing in your yard, you want to get rid of them, but they're realizing that they're medicinal and realizing the connection between us as Black women and dandelions and how resilient we are and how, we can find that sunshine from anywhere and, make ourselves grow.
Mhm.
Ajua.
Okay. And so Adjoa is called for name's sake, Adjoa Burrows. I experienced a tremendous amount of personal growth as an artist and collaborator while participating in the project. I'm grateful for the bond we shared and the community we built as Black women artists during one of the most traumatic times in recent history. And with Adjoa's, it was this kind of an origami folded masterpiece in which we had a square, but the square folded up into what you see here. And it also folded into several configurations. She has this kind of star-like configuration on the right side. And in the center, she has it hanging from, in most cases, in the exhibitions, it would hang from the ceiling. So you could actually walk around the piece three-dimensionally, and you could see each fold and each piece unfold. And of course, it collapsed all the way down to the first image on the left, where she has it bound with this cardboard structure she created. Also.
Again, another challenge because whatever you did with this, it still had to fold. So you couldn't put anything really stiff on it. You had to really crease whatever you've made so that it can conform and fold up and fit into that little tiny book. I think it was like 4 by 4. I'm not really sure how big it was, but it was tiny when it was all said and done. Okay, so who do we have? Ah, me.
Okay, the crocodile. And for Gail Shaw-Clemons, my participation in the Project 2020 book exchange gave me a vehicle by which I could respond and reflect while working through the trauma of daily events. It got me through the tough times and made me overwhelmingly aware of my strengths and resiliences.
So, so this is actually a box, and
This was the other thing that I was supposed to do. I was going to be watching this while I was in the text.
sorry. So this is a box, and it was displayed by hanging from the ceiling as well, like Ajua's. It was a accordion, but a vertical accordion book, and it would actually close. And the whole concept of the crocodile is the toughest animal in the jungle, and it's inspired by the Adinkra symbol that stands for resiliency. And because the crocodile lives in water all the time, yet it breathes air, so it's the most adaptable animal as well. And I find that we've been extremely adaptable from day one, the day we arrived here, and we continue to do so. So that's my story. Okay, so let's see. So at the end we have, I don't know if I could put this in the chat, but we, in order to keep in touch with each other, we came up with a blog, and the blog helped us to talk about our work, talk through our work, talk about our technique and inspiration. And it gave the other artists a chance to see what's in the books, because when we first got the books, we only saw like one image or two images. We never really got to see all of the images until that 9th month when we gave birth. So the blog was a way to find out what was going on or to see what was coming, and and what people have done after your book left your hands. And now we have a website. We've had a lot of discussions online, internationally. And it's funny, when we started this project, it was very innocently, something that we felt we needed to just hold on to our sanity and to be creative in seclusion. So oddly enough, it just snowballed. I mean, we went from one exhibition in Maryland, one in New York, one in Chicago, all the way to the Library of Congress purchasing all of the books, and they are going to be kept in perpetuity in the rare book catalog, rare book. Anyway, so one day you'll be able to go in and see it, but until that day, we're trying to get together and put together a catalog. So we're trying to talk to different people. We're hoping that we can get it published, and it will give everyone an opportunity to see the work, because we have at least 81 pieces, probably like 100 and something pieces of original work in these books, and they're fragile and really can't be held by a lot of people. So we're hoping that the catalog will give people the opportunity to see all of the work that we did in 9 months' time, and also just understand the process and understand how artivism can save you. It can be quiet, but it can be loud and powerful at the same time. So, I mean, even some little act that you do can snowball. And the next thing you're in the Library of Congress. So that's our story.
Hey, thank you both so much. If you have any questions, feel free to turn off your mic and ask, or if you put it in the chat, I will relay it to Gail and Kamala. So please think if you have any questions. We have a little bit of time for questions.
I
Well,
want to mention one thing,
oh yeah, of
that
course.
India Sudu has she has been following us throughout this entire project, and she is a videographer, and she's actually developing a documentary on our project. So we have been the luckiest people in the world. We've had articles in the paper, Washington Post, East City Art. So it's just been amazing.
And we were interviewed by Howard University Station WHUT for PBS, their Artico series, where they look at all types of things within the fine arts community. And that was, it's kind of been a reoccurring type of thing that's we see occasionally on the PBS station in our area at least. And lots of panel discussions, which have been invigorating and all in all, the wonderful things to say about collaborative arts um, and as an activism and seeing different points of views from all of us. It's been an eye opener.
Great. I think Pamela has her hand up. Pamela, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make the comment that one of the things that the way the project started is Gail and Kamala both said we were shut in. And so not only were these horrible things happening, but you couldn't really reach out and spend time with people who in person, who would help you feel better. And so the whole reason it was 12 by 12 was because it was easy to mail. So the idea was to mail this, not to really even have any physical contact with one another. But when Gail's book actually was stolen from the mail, I think in the second rotation, and she had to recreate it, because Gail invited the two New York artists and had family in New York, she decided to get on Amtrak and physically swap the books out with people every rotation. And then that led us to thinking, well, you know what? Why don't we just mask up and meet each other on people's porches? So people came to my house and to Aziza's house. And that was how the bond really developed, the sisterhood, because I didn't know anybody really well but Kamala, not even Kamala, but Ajwa. And I'd met Gail and Kamala and Aziza, but I didn't really know the other artists. So it just, not only were we able to use artist books as a form of artivism and get our perspective out there on all the things that were happening. But we were also able to connect very deeply with one another as artists, as Black women, as people who have been educators, many of us, and people in our group. Some were further along in their art careers, some not so much. And so we were able to develop this bond that then helped each other move along in our careers and in our practice and provide other opportunities. And so it just kind of morphed then into an actual artist collective. So it didn't start out that way. It became an artist collective. And as Gail said, the dandelion became a symbol for us because, you know, Black women are often trampled over just like weeds, but we keep popping back up. So we're really resilient. And so that kind of became our, the metaphor for who we are as a group of artists. And so we developed this collective as a result of working together called Dandelion Black Women Artists. And that's the website that Gail mentioned that's there. So it has on there a connection to the blog as well as what we've done since then in terms of the work of the Library of Congress and with India gathering us together to interview us and make a film. So I just kind of wanted to put some of that into context, that what happened as a result of this project that was just supposed to be mailing things back and forth and really not having any physical contact.
Great, thanks. That partially answers my question, but I had a question because some of you knew each other, some of you didn't, and obviously now you answered that the collective came out of it, but what other has come out of from building the relationships with each other in terms of projects or collaborations or ideas? I'm just curious to hear a little more about that.
Well,
for each show, we didn't have just books on display. We had work that we had created also within that time period. And actually, the first show that we had, we sold half of the show sold out. And so it was like doing that work forced me into actually developing a whole new, concept and way of working, which I was experimenting with, and then was able to make larger pieces from it. And so I think it just made everybody work a lot harder and have more ideas because of what we were like forced to do in 30 days. It really does make a difference where you're just creating versus you have a timetable where you're creating. And so we're all kind of branching out and doing our own thing now, but we are a collective and we continue to work on projects. The project that we're working on is trying to raise the money to get the book published. And so, we don't know where we're going exactly from here. We're just kind of, going to make it up as we go along. But those are the things we know we have to do. We have to make sure that people have access to these images um, on a large scale basis. So, I mean, I think there are other things. I mean, we have a tumultuous, probably next 10 years coming up in front of us, which, hopefully this will continue to help us along the way.
Yes. I know I was heavily influenced by um, each of the books, and of course, every single artist. And I believe each of us was influenced by one another. I saw my work change dramatically, and it was very exciting. Techniques, colors, ideas that I saw in other artists' books within the project and at the shows that we had together. Um, Definitely influenced me and inspired me a lot and to move in multiple directions. Really enjoyed that.
I admire each and every one of you for the work that you have done and continue to do. And so, yes, I do my best to keep up with each of you. Not everywhere, not able to do or go or be everywhere. But what I found is for, then I will say 9 women to work together, being very cohesive and very, in a way of being very unity. You have the focus and idea, but you express it in so many different ways. And that's the beauty of this whole project. So it wasn't limited to one's focus and idea, but the expression that came from within, from each of you, and how you expressed your art. So that is truly the beauty of the whole project, because people get to see that beauty that each of you all have demonstrated and expressed. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dia.
Thank you, India. Are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I think that one of the things I got out of this, one, it was empowering to meet other Black women artists who I didn't know at all, and feel connected, and also to connect in such a way that no one was selfish. There was no team. Everyone was a team player, which I think mattered, because I think we all had to. There was no competitiveness. There were no attitudes. There were no egos, and I think that's why the project was able to mesh and become successful. And also the fact that we kind of all knew each other. I didn't know anybody other than Gail, but Gail knew me and she knew Michelle.
I knew everybody.
No, 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 no. I was saying that I didn't know other than Gail. I didn't. I said no. What I meant is Gail knew me and Michelle, because that's why she was. And she knew that I would fit into the group. That's what I was trying to say. That she knew me well enough to know that I would fit in, and become, I guess, a team player. I didn't. I don't know. I think Gail knew everybody quite well, and for some reason in her mind is, these people got to be able to work together well. So I guess that's what I was trying to point out, that the fact that we were all willing participants in the project, and we're all selfless, because there was not anybody I contacted or didn't call that did not come to my rescue or to my help. I don't know if I phrased that well. It's kind of a long-winded way of saying something, but I think everybody got my message or understood what I was trying to say.
I just want to add, in terms of what Anika asked, is we have monthly Zoom meetings. So every month we get together and catch up with one another, celebrate what each person is doing with their own individual art practice, as well as continue to talk about trying to get this catalog done. And we do have a publisher that wants to work with us. So I do want to say that. So it's like we have this continuous connection that's there. We make sure we check in, and we've even given each other prompts to work on. So who knows, in terms of showing again, or maybe even coming back around and trying a different sort of project similar to the book project, in relation to all the tumultuous times that we see coming down the pike here.
That's amazing. I'm excited for what else might come out of this, and the hope your guys' projects will give us in the years to come in the state of the world, as we all move forward. If Let me know if there's any other questions or comments for the conversation. Otherwise, guys, please let us know and send to my email when you guys have dates coming up, when the documentary's out, the catalog, so we can share with the community as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. for inviting us.
Oh, yes. No, it was my pleasure. It was great to hear about this project. I feel like you rarely hear about such successful collaborations with so many people. Having 9 people and being like, as you guys talked about, such a selfless collaborators and supporters of each other is really an inspiration to hear about. All right. Well, if there are no one else jumping in, we will close out the talk for tonight. And please do check on CBAA's website for the application for future book art series talks. And tell your friends if you know anyone who would be a great fit to give a talk. We'll be starting them up soon in 2025 now. So everyone have a wonderful rest of your year. Thank you everyone for joining tonight.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Thank
holiday.
you.
Happy
Thank you.
holiday,
Holidays,
Bye.
everyone.
buddy.
Holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.